Stop this maniac.
So it's been a long wait, but The Flash is now officially back on our screens with The Flash Season 5 Episode 10, which is otherwise entitled The Flash and the Furious. And in this video, in this first episode, in this first proper review here on DC Central, we're going to be reviewing the episode, breaking it down, and going over everything you need to know coming out of the episode. So the first thing to really discuss is that we really open this episode seeing Nora going to visit Eobard Thawne in the future after the big reveal at the end of the mid-season finale, where we got to see Nora is actually in contact with Eobard Thawne or working with him in some way, and this is how she has been able to get back to our time. He's been able to help her, and in this you actually see that she is regretting this decision. She's actually regretting working with Eobard Thawne. Of course, in the mid-season finale, she learned that Eobard Thawne murdered her grandmother in front of her father's eyes. So with that, she is now feeling regretful for this decision, and she's basically interrogating Eobard, saying, why did you do that? And this is when we get to see Eobard basically give a bit more of a summary of his origin story about how he was a fanboy of the Flash. He wanted to be the Flash, he couldn't, he got jealous, and he came back and wanted to make him pay, and that's how they became arch nemesis. And I feel like this was actually a really good way to show Nora kind of just who the Reverse Flash really is. He wasn't just this villain, he really has a really deep-seated personal connection to Barry, which really establishes why he has such a hatred for him. It's a really good scene. I think it was something that needed to happen, and something that is really going to connect to the end scene towards the back half of the episode. Now, one of the main storylines going on in this episode is we have Weather Witch, who we met in episode 7, is currently on trial for her crimes in said episode, and she is putting under trial. Now, this was actually a really interesting part of the episode, and an interesting direction that I did not expect the episode to go in. We see Cecile, being the DA and of course being an interrogator in court, is actually going up against Weather Witch, and using her powers, she's actually able to decipher that Weather Witch is actually feeling very remorseful for what she did. She is feeling very, very sorry, and it's something that we're not really used to with these metahumans. Normally, most of the time, we kind of see these metahumans as just being people that are just evil because they can be, and they get put in prison and that's the end of it. But this, we actually get to see the trial of one of the metahumans, and actually the fact that they are feeling sorry for what they did. Obviously, this is the daughter of Weather Wizard, Mark Marden's version of Weather Wizard, and she doesn't want to be like her father. Her father was a career criminal. She doesn't want to go down that path, and she is very happy just to go to prison, accept her fate, and just accept the fact that she did something wrong and she's ready to pay the price. And I thought that was a really interesting direction. Nothing I expected of that at all. I thought this whole storyline was going to be something completely different, and we got it in a pretty well told way, I have to say. Now, in the prison transfer, she is actually taken over and kidnapped by the new metahuman for this episode, who is Silver Ghost, who is a character from the comics, but is completely different to what we actually see from her in the comics. But she breaks her out and basically takes her back to her own personal base and says she wants to form the Young Rogues. So we found out, like, before the season even began, that they were planning to bring in the new Rogues for this season, and this was really exciting because obviously the Rogues are a huge part of the Flash in the comics and the lore. It's just a huge part of it, and we've seen the Flash do the Rogues before, but not to the proper extent that we've all liked to see. But it seems like in this season we could be seeing the new Rogues fully come into fruition, and it's going to be led by Silver Ghost. We also have potentially Weather Witch in the mist, and also a couple others, and a few more metahumans, which I'm sure we'll uncover as we go on. We did see in her little book that she was looking at Spencer Young as well from episode 4, the metahuman known as Spin. So these new Rogues could be something really, really interesting for us fans to actually uncover and just see develop as it goes on. Now, another side plot in this episode is we actually have Caitlin and Cisco working on a cure. Cisco is able to get the shards from Cicada's blade out of his hands, and he's able to use that and basically do some tests on it to realize that these are not only dampening his powers, but also taking them away, completely removing his powers, and that is why he's not been able to vibe as well recently. And this is when he comes up with the idea that, yes, I could actually use this to make a metahuman cure. And this is when him and Caitlin actually go at odds a little bit, because Caitlin doesn't necessarily want to make a metahuman cure, whereas Cisco gets some really good moments in this episode, I have to say. Carlos Valdez pulled it off so well, especially because he eventually comes up to the ultimatum where he says to Caitlin, you know, I don't want to be a superhero all my life. I want to eventually settle down with somebody. I want to grow old with somebody. I want to have children and things like that. And he brings this all up to Caitlin, and it's a good point. And I like the fact that they were at odds, because normally Caitlin and Cisco are pretty much on the same page for pretty much most of the different topics they discuss. But here, they were actually at odds. And the way it all kind of wrapped up, where Caitlin was like, yeah, I can help you with this, you know, but we're not going to force it on everybody. I'll help you make this, but we can't just, you know, disperse it into Central City and just cure everybody. There has to be a choice, because some people like their powers. Like Caitlyn has grown to really like her powers with Killer Frost, whereas Cisco is willing to move on from them. So I think that was actually a really good way, and I like the fact that they resolved it in a really mature way, because this show could have easily just done that in a completely immature way, as they would have normally done, but doing it in a mature way like this, ending it like that, was really smart. So after Nora is able to figure out that yes, people and criminals can change, she actually goes back to 2049 to speak to Eobard Thawne and says to him, look, I'm willing to give you a chance, can you change? And Eobard actually comes across incredibly sympathetic in this scene, although I don't buy it for a minute. I definitely believe that he was definitely putting on an act to try and convince Nora, as he has been pretty much all season. And we can see that he is actually trying to convince her that yes, I can change. But what's incredibly important about this scene is you look up in the top corner and you can see there's a countdown clock counting down from 51 minutes. So what is that counting down to? We don't know, I suppose. My theory is that it could be when he's going to be executed, because of course he is in prison. He's in Iron Heights in a metahuman dampening cell and in a metahuman dampening suit, it looks like. So is this a countdown to his execution? So what's going on there? Why is he being executed? Why is he in prison? How was he captured? How do people know about him? It's really, really interesting, the fact that they are going down this route, but the fact that they have 50 minutes until he's being executed, I'm just so interested to see what they're going to be doing with Reverse Flash this season. Bringing him back at this point seems incredibly crucial, but we don't quite know why yet, and I think that's incredibly exciting. So going with that idea, what could they be doing with Reverse Flash? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And in the final scene, we get to see Sherlock Wells, who's been kind of clinging onto Nora for the past few weeks. We see him actually investigate the Speed Force symbols. It was nice to see him actually have a conversation with Barry about that, because they've never really done anything with Barry with that post-Season 4 premiere. So it was nice for them to actually approach this situation. But the fact that he actually goes into the Time Vault, speaks to Gideon, and he says, you know, bring up all the files on Nora West Allen, and Gideon says that they have been deleted. So again, although we thought that Nora was just working with Reverse Flash, it seems like she's still holding a lot of secrets, and there still could be something going on beneath the surface with Nora that we haven't quite seen yet, and that again makes a lot of mystery towards her that much more intriguing, because she really could be up to something that we don't know yet. Maybe she's playing an even bigger game than the Reverse Flash even knows. Like, she could be a lot bigger than the Reverse Flash. So there's a lot going on here with this season, and with Nora and Eobard Thawne, it's just really difficult to kind of decipher what they're doing, but I think that's really exciting, the fact that The Flash is able to have me on this mystery and have me on the edge of my seat like this, because they haven't done that in a while. Overall, I actually thought this was a surprisingly decent mid-season premiere for The Flash Season 5. I kind of went into it not really that excited about it, if I'm honest. I kind of felt like all the promotional for this episode was really poor. It just didn't really look like a great episode. It kind of looked very, very average, very run-of-the-mill. And while I will say it didn't necessarily feel like a mid-season premiere, it was a very typical Meta of the Week episode. The way they handled the metahuman storyline was very different to what they normally do, and I have to give them all the props in the world for that, because like I say, I was actually very invested in Weather Witch, because I wasn't really a big fan of her in episode 7, but here I think they handled her very, very well. And with that, mixing that with the Nora storyline, what's going on with Reverse Flash in 2049, we really don't know yet, but all these different mysteries are really building up to make a really intriguing season for the Flash going forward, and I think this could be something that is going to actually come out in the end of it to be one of the best seasons of the Flash if they can handle it right. So thank you guys for watching this review on DC Central. If you want to see more reviews from all of your favourite DC TV shows, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. And if you want to see even more DC content, be sure to subscribe for that as well. And with all that said, I hope to see you guys again next time.